Hi guys. So, a couple of things I wanted to go over today. Um, Way back when I said that I would make one video with questions that people had about Avery and how we were doing, and it was like a really long time ago, and I never made the video. So I'm gonna go over those questions if I can still find them. I should be able to find them. Um, and then I had some other interesting things to talk about. Um, let me see if I can find those questions. There weren't that many, but there were a couple. Uh, and then some other interesting coincidences and similarities and differences that her and I share astrologically. Because I always find it so interesting to look at um, the way family, if you like look at families, the way family members relate to one another. Oh damn, maybe I can't go back any further. Can't go back further than a week ago. All right, well, all right, so then I don't have the questions. Unless, huh. All right, well, anyhow. So some interesting things that I wanted to point out that are pretty odd. So everyone knows that Avery was born on the day that my grandfather passed away. It was the 21st anniversary, and I really did not want her to be born on that day. They brought me into the hospital on the 8th to be induced because I was coming to the point where my blood pressure, it wasn't dangerously high, but it was like borderline, and they didn't want to take a chance with um, it going up higher than that, like in other words, like for us to just wait around for her to come naturally. So they brought me in on Wednesday, which was exactly 39 weeks. She wound up being born by C-section on Friday because nothing had happened. And Friday was the 10th, and I really didn't want her to be born on the day that he died. But now looking at it, I'm kind of thinking that maybe it was meant to be. Maybe he wanted her to be born on that day, so that now it's the day that we celebrate rather than a day that I am upset about or that I get upset on. There is a bird. I think it's called yellow-tailed chickadee. I think that's what it is. The way it whistles, my grandfather used to mimic it when he was out working around the pool and working around the yard. And every time I hear that, I always know that he's around. Like that's when I ever hear the bird, and the bird's been around lately. So anyway, so I wanted to go over the, I don't see the bird, I just hear it. And it's usually in the morning. I can't make the sound of it, but it's like, wee woo, wee woo. Like that's kind of like the sound. And my grandfather would whistle back at it. I don't know. Anyway, so these are similar things that happened that are very strange. So when I was pregnant with Avery, I found a four-leaf clover, and it's a big four-leaf clover. There's a picture of it on my Instagram page. I think that the date was September 22nd that I found it, and it's a big four-leaf clover. There's no denying it's a four-leaf clover. I was on the phone with my father, and I saw it. It was like I was walking the dog, and it was like coming out, like it wasn't in the lawn. It was like growing like through the fence, like where our fence divides us from the next neighborhood or the next block. And I have it. It's in my bedroom in a picture frame. So if you want to see it, it's on my Instagram page, Magic Junk Drawer, September 22nd. The day that I was born, my grandfather was sitting out on the front porch waiting to hear that I had arrived, and he found a four-leaf clover in the lawn. It's much smaller, and I have it in my baby book, but it's still a four-leaf clover. It's a little bit different than the one that I found. Mine's better. It's bigger, and it's like a four-leaf clover, like with the heart-shaped leaves. His is a little bit different. Like they're a little bit like square or something. I don't know, but it's still a four-leaf clover. Anyhow, so that's interesting. Another odd fact is that I was born March 6th, and that day, the day that I was born, it was abnormally warm. It was like 70 degrees, 69 or 70 degrees. So warm that my father remembers coming home and sleeping, excuse me, taking a nap on the couch. My my mom was like in labor with me for a very long time, and I was in a really bad position. So he came home to take a nap at some point, and he said he fell asleep with the door open. March 6th, New York State, the dead of winter, right? But that's how warm it was. Now, Avery was born on January 10th, and it was so warm that weekend that my friends were coming to the hospital in shorts. It was unbelievably warm that weekend. And all my friends were saying to me, oh, you would love it because it would be great running weather for you. And meanwhile, I was in the hospital like for days. So, I mean, I hadn't even seen the outdoors. So it's funny. We were both born where it was unseasonably warm. Also, I think that it's kind of funny that I was the oldest growing up, and I always felt super responsible for everyone else. Not only did I feel responsible for them, but I felt like I had to always take care of them and look out for them. I never really felt like I had a chance to be a kid. I felt like I always had to be an adult. I mean, I have Saturn in my first house, makes me responsible. Maybe that's why, but I always felt like I was constantly babysitting everybody, like even when I was really young. And it's funny because Avery is the youngest. So she's going to be the youngest. Everybody else is older than her and significantly older. Like my nephews are 5 and 11. So that's like a lot older than her. Anyway, so that's funny that I was the oldest and she's the youngest. Now, when it comes to our natal charts, it's very interesting to me that we are quite the opposite. Natal charts, for me, I don't have any earth signs in my chart, none at all. I have 7 planets in air, and I'm a Pisces sun, but Pisces sun is the only water element that I have. Otherwise, I'm all air, and I have Neptune in Sagittarius, and I think Chiron in Aries. I think. Oh, I have it here. I could check. I'm pretty sure it's Chiron in Aries. Anyway. Well, this is hers. This is her chart, which is very interesting to me. She is all earth. She has got the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, all in Capricorn. 5 planets in Capricorn. She's got Uranus in Taurus. So she's got 6 planets in earth signs. She has Neptune in Pisces at 16 degrees, which is interesting because that's sitting on my sun. My sun is 15 degrees Pisces. So it's going to be funny to see what she thinks of me growing up, because she could see me like through rose-colored glasses with that kind of connection, or she may see me as certifiably nuts. And probably she'll see me as both. But that's interesting. And her moon is in Cancer. Otherwise, she doesn't have any other water signs in her. She's really an earthy, very earthy. Her rising sign is Aries. So she's a Capricorn, Aries rising, Cancer moon, all cardinal signs, which means that she's going to be a natural born leader, which is something that I can say that I am not. Not that I'm a follower. I'm just not the take charge kind of person. I don't really tell people what to do. I don't like to control things. I'm kind of like a go with the flow kind of a person. I don't think that she's going to be like that. I think that she's going to be much more take charge. This is how we do things kind of a person. I think that that's where we're going to be very different. Now, this is what's interesting. So the fact that I am like 7 planets in air signs and a very airy person, and very go with the flow, I have Saturn in my first house, which is actually somewhat of a wet blanket, but it's the only thing I have that grounds me. If I didn't have that, I probably would float into the ethers. But since I have Saturn in the first, it really grounds me. Avery has Uranus in the first house. So even though she's going to be very down to earth and very stable, she may have a quirky, unique side to her. And she may come off a little bit Aquarian to some people because of the influence of Uranus in the first house. It is at it's in Taurus, 2 degrees of Taurus, which is just a couple of degrees off of her father's sun. He is 7 degrees Taurus. She's got it in 2 degrees of Taurus in the first house. Yeah. That's going to give her a unique side, which that's my only hope. Otherwise, she's going to think that I'm nuts, and she, you know, and she would be like a very down to earth, grounded person, which I don't have anything wrong with, but I like to have a little fun. So the Uranus in the first house gives me hope that she could be somewhat of a rebel, or at least someone who is unique enough to be her own person and not really care what everybody else thinks. So that, I think that that's good. The Cancer moon in Cancer, she's probably going to have a love for me, because Cancer's the mother, and it's a very soft kind of a moon, even though she was born under like a really crazy full moon that was like destined to blow up a lot of things. That's when she was born. It was a crazy weekend. But I think that that's going to work out for her. It's also in the 4th house, which is the house of home. And yeah, and I think that's going to be a good tie to me. I think that that's going to give her, like, make me important to her in her life. Like, I'm not going to be somebody she's going to dread spending time with. I think that that's going to make her look forward to spending time with me, especially as she gets older. Very interesting that most of her planets fall in the last few houses, which means, and if anyone has ever met her, I know on the videos sometimes she could be a little fussy, but if you ever met her in person, it's very clear that she's an old soul. And with all the planets that she has that really fall in the last, she's got a lot going on in the 10th house, which her sun is in the 10th house. My son's also in the 10th house. But she's got most planets in the 10th house. I think that she's a very old soul. And anyone that meets her, she can be very serious. She can come off very serious. And very, you know, like she kind of stares at you sometimes, like she's taking it all in. But you can tell she's very grounded. Like it's easy to see that if you spend time with her. Anyhow, so she doesn't have any, what she doesn't have is, she doesn't have any planets in the 2nd house, the 5th house, the 6th house, the 7th house, which is, you know, empty houses can be good because there's no obstacles there. There's nothing that's going to aspect in there. I don't think it's a bad thing. She's got a 7th house, Libra and Virgo are in the 7th house, so she could have a very loving and stable marriage. And she's probably going to be very grounded, very down to earth, but have a very quirky, unique side to her, which I think is a good thing. But it's funny how I'm all air signs with Saturn in the 1st, and she's all earth signs, but with Uranus in the 1st. So as my personality is stabilized by that, her grounded personality can be flavored a little bit with the Uranus in the first house. All right, I think that's about it. I just wanted to bring up those things. I don't think that there was anything else that I can think of right now, astrologically. No, that's it. Anyway, she's waking up now. Okay, so that's about it. Oh, I know that some of the questions that I got were like how I was doing or how I was managing. And to be honest, she is a really good baby. So I really can't complain. She sleeps through the night. She's pretty much slept through the night since the beginning. I mean, the first couple of weeks, she was up a couple of times in the middle of the night, or I found things to be like, it was like getting to know her. Like, I know that they swaddle in the hospital, but they didn't show me in the hospital how to swaddle. And I figured out she could sleep without that. But no, she couldn't. She needed to be wrapped up. And now that she's bigger, I don't wrap her up in a blanket, but I have like sleep sacks for her, which she loves. And I don't even think about putting her in the crib without one because she needs it. And she'll sleep all night with it. She normally doesn't get up until like between 7 and 9 in the morning. I mean, we usually go to bed late. Like maybe she probably goes to bed for good at like midnight. But she's usually asleep before then. Like I'll wake her up and change her and I'll give her a bottle before she goes to sleep. But she'll sleep through the night. She really only cries and fusses when she's hungry. She doesn't really throw too many tantrums. She's good in the stroller. She's good with the dog. He loves her. I haven't really found things to be too difficult, but I think it's because she is really good. Now that can change when she starts teething. It might change when she's 2 years old. It could change, but as of right now, I have no complaints about her. She's really good. She didn't at first care for the bath, but now she seems to be okay with it. She may cry for like the first couple of seconds that I get her in there, but then she's okay. And I give her a bath. I have a seat that sits inside the kitchen sink. She's not in there for very long. I mean, it doesn't take that long to clean her, but oh, that's another difference between her and I. She was really big as a baby, and I was pretty small. I was just a little bit over 6 pounds. She was almost 8 pounds. And I think that now she's pretty big. We go back to the doctor May 11th for her 4-month visit. But when I went for her 2-month visit, she was like in the 80 percentile height-wise, which I don't know where that comes from because I'm short. But either way. And I guess that's about it. All right, I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.